Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, and I tell it like it is. Here live to tape, covering the classics. We go back to the 1980s and the old WWF for Tuesday Night Titans variety show. That's right, here on Chaos Corner with me, the G.O.C. We're going to cover the variety show here on the variety show. We're going to flash back, throw it back, kick it back, whatever you want to call. And we're going to watch Tuesday Night Titans and review the TV show that made everything what it was in the World Wrestling Federation in the golden era. Follow me on all social media platforms, and you know what they are. Here on YouTube, it's the Guardian of Chaos. On Instagram, it's the Guardian of Chaos. On Facebook, it's J Brony and Prodigio Fidelis El Guardian. And of course, on Twitter, it's at Big Daddy GOC. And the GOC stands for the Guardian of Chaos. What we're doing here is retro review classics and going back. You won't find this on the network. It's not copyrighted. It's not on the peacock. It's not on anything. It's here on Free Wrestling on TV for yours truly to bring to you, the fans. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go on through the whole series of Tuesday Night Titans when kayfabe was real, when you saw not only in-ring action, but a kayfabe, it's a work-type variety show from the studios of Titan Towers, right up the road here on 95. And this is what they did with Vince Jr. as the host, and with Lord Alfred Hayes right now. And that's what's going to happen, and that's what we're going to cover. They do like a Johnny Carson, David Letterman type TV show, and bring out all the stars and make it relatable. And then they go from vignettes, promos, scenes, footage to live in-ring action. To right now, we're in 1985. I was a mere 22, 23 years old. Hulk Hogan, Hillbilly Jim, training footage. Go back and check this out on YouTube. You're not going to find anything like it. It's priceless. Stay with me here on Chaos Corner. This is a third in our episodes. They're usually about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and we talk about what we're watching as they talk about it. This was pure variety TV at its best. And thanks for being here, fans. I couldn't do it without you and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'd like to bring back some stress reliever, not only for me, but for you guys. Hillbilly Jim and Hulk Hogan right now doing their training, saying their prayers, eating their vitamins. Let me adjust the camera angle here, because you know it puts an extra 10 pounds on you. With me, it might be an extra 20. We're here in the lounge. We're not in the bunker. We're not down at the headquarters. We're not in the offices. We're here in the lounge. And Hillbilly Jim was a big dude. He was in great shape. Don't go messing with a country boy, a country boy, a country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy. And now they're in the gym. Hogan training. We don't want any copyrights. That's why we're going to sit here. We'll try to lower this. We'll talk through it because he's going to play his usual hit music from back in the 80s. I'm sure it's copyrighted. That's why if you talk over it, you won't get the copyright strikes or shadow banned or anything like this. But they're in the gym. Hogan and Hillbilly, when they were trying to train back in the day, this is when Hillbilly really made it big. Hogan made him. He's on the bench press with 135 pounds going like this, trying to squat, and they're in the gym with Hillbilly wearing his hat, the overalls, you know, they're doing the cable crossovers, Jim's all over the place. This is when it was a work. We know that. It's still a work, but everybody with the smarks, the dirt sheets, the podcasts, everybody reporting, hey, listen, I get it because I do the same thing. But let's remember when it was a work, when it was kayfabe and nobody gave up the business and it was really like this and it was a variety show. We all knew what the deal was, but you didn't have to throw it in people's faces. And you got a chance to see the person and the grappler and the wrestler and the talent behind the scenes besides the larger than life of inside the ring. And then to do the different vignettes and promos like this, it made it relatable to the fan. That's why this was the golden era. That's why it exploded. That's why there was sellouts, whether it was TV tapings, house shows, and then when they eventually went into pay-per-views and on TV, listen, the brawl to settle it all, the score to settle the war to settle the score, the WrestleManias, the Saturday night's main event. This is when it all happened, fans. They're trying to do Hindu squats in the ring right now. It looks like they're at the old facility at the Quest in Orange. I mean, I don't know, where I tried my training to begin with in 1984. Hogan trying to teach Hillbilly Jim. This really was a good storyline for Jim, who went on in his career for such a long time. Neither one of these guys were great grapplers, but they had what a lot of guys don't have today in 2022. They have charisma. They knew how to work it. They made it believable. They made them into larger than life characters, and that's what entertainment and pro wrestling is supposed to be all about. Nowadays, everybody's the same. It's cookie cutter. So I'm glad that I can bring this to you, and I'm going to try to give it to you in a different vein. One-man show, unique, unedited, unscripted, reality. What you see is what you get. No editing, no paywall, no Patreon. Not asking anybody for money. I'm just asking you to be here for me, and I'll be here for you. Little ambiance on this setting. We're going day after day, and we're going to try to cover these episodes of Tuesday Night Titans Variety Show because you can't get it anywhere else. So I'm going to try to make it relatable and fun here for us as a distraction. They're going side to side, rope to rope. It really is funny. Running the ropes. And this was good stuff back then. And now they'll cut back to the studio with Vince and Lord Alfred Hayes. And again, this is when I was 22, 23 years old. I could watch this all day. It let your mind expand in the business and let the reality and the work and the entertainment sink in. It's like a theater. It's like a movie. It's like watching something like that, a TV series. That's what it's all about, an opera. Doing a dance in the ring. People don't get that in today's day and age. They just don't. My opinion. Back to the studios. Alfred with the red bow tie and cummerbund. Vince with the old shirt and tie, red flowers, the city scene in the back. You know, the skylight, the sky scene. Not the skylight. What do you call it? The skyline. Again, I don't have to say what Bully Ray said to me, do I? Maybe I do have to say it. Give the Guardian of Chaos 5 spots, so fuck up 4 of them. I don't like to swear. I'm trying to make this relatable and push out the content. Go back to the channel. There's over 1,000 videos, retro reviews, covering the current product, covering the past, my career, everything you want to think of. And now here, covering the variety shows from back in the days. Most of you guys weren't even born if you look at the demographics of my analytics.
All right, back with more TNT with the TNT band, Lord Alfred Hayes.
The TNT band with Vince McMahon, the Lord Alfred Hayes. Vince is retired now. And then yours truly, the G.O.C. I'm just kicking back and having a good time right now. This is what I do. This is what you get to do when you've lived the life and you can sit back and relax and still be into business and passion and the way that you love it and want to bring it to people. I'm already a Red Bull in, a cup of coffee. Was it 2 Red Bulls?
Let's take you now to
Nikolai Volkov and the TNT band. We don't want any copyrights now. Nikolai Volkov, God rest his soul. Singing on TNT with the G.O.C. Covering retro review on the channel TNT. I don't care if it sounds good or not. The TNT band, Nikolai Volkov. Now he's walking over into the studios. Again, this is a cross between David Letterman, Johnny Carson, and Chaos Corner. That's what you get here. So now Nikolai wearing the red babushka, the black babushka, the red suit with the white pinstripes. Again, this is classic from when I was a young man and looking back at the business. They need something like this nowadays. Not too corny with all the backstage vignettes and the stuff that they do now. Everything's so serious and a brawl and I got to catch everyone. This is relatable to people. Maybe it's the times. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Bad Street, Atlanta, GA. Bad Street in the whole USA. Bad Street, nasty and hot. The further down the street. or the block, the worse it got. Yeah, and I'm sober, and I act like this. Yeah, I know. I can. Could you imagine if I wasn't? What would it be like? Entertainment personified. Nikolai Volkov and that Russian accent. And we know there's a lot going on 2022 and current day in crisis. If you guys didn't watch TNT back in the day, or prime, which morphed into primetime wrestling with Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, just priceless stuff. The vignettes, whether they were in the bars, the saloons, or they were out on the Ponderosa or in the jungle, or Fuji Vice, Fuji General, different things that you had there, the different vignettes. This really was something in entertainment. And now we go to the ring, and that's what this show did. It went from the TV studios in Stamford and TNT Towers to the vignettes to live to tape in-ring action. Classy Freddie Blassie, one of the original managers back there in the day that I grew up on, the Grand Wizard Blassie, Captain Lou, Worcester, Massachusetts. We got Volkov in the ring now. Athens Apollo, another jobber, so to speak. I like that term. It's not an insult. Better than enhancement talent. And now Volkov in the ring. Howard Finkel as the ring announcer. And this is, again, as I said, I'm repeating myself here, which I do all the time. We know that. I ramble on, I repeat. That's what this show is. That's why it's Chaos Corner. We do this here because we want to relate it to you guys. But we look back at Hillbilly Jim's in the crowd. And Volkov's going to sing the national anthem from the CCCP from Russia. He's wearing the Moscow Olympic shirt. There's Hillbilly Jim in the crowd with the American flag. Good old glory. This was classic when Volkov used to do this. This was the golden age, guys. Go back and check it out for yourself. And again, I talk about jobbers, enhancement talent, different stuff like that. They want to call nowadays. It was a necessity back then to get the character older, to build him up to build him up, and then to get him onto the bigger matches. Now, no matter what group you watch, every match is a big match. Nothing is different from a pay-per-view. They don't do house shows anymore to regular TV tapings. I just really don't understand the difference. Again, I know you have to evolve, you have to go along with the business, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Nikolai Volkov in a match here on Tuesday Night Titans in Chaos Corner. And we're going to try to cover each one of these shows. They're usually anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes. They used to be on Tuesday nights, Friday nights, and then they ended up going to Mondays before Raw came on, or different shows they had on the USA Network. And this really was good TV, entertainment TV, to give you variety. And this is where the business was. It was still basically the territorial days. There's classy Freddie Blassie, the Hollywood fashion plate for all you pencil neck geeks. Again, whether it's a TV taping, a house show, no matter where it was, and they were on the road, 6-7 days a week, the crowds were always packed. Not like nowadays. What do they wrestle once a week, twice a week if they're lucky? Sometimes these guys wrestle once a month, the talent and the workers now. What are they working 45 times a year? It truly is a different time and age and era for pro wrestling, and the simplicity of keeping it simple, stupid back in the day. And wrestling, 6, 7, 8 times a week, depending on double shots, and traveling hundreds of miles, and no off season, or literally wrestling 250, 300 times a year. And it's so different nowadays. You would never see that happen. The business will never go back to that, and that's just my opinion. And back when I did shows like this back in the early 90s, middle 90s, late 90s, even into the early 2000s on different cable channels, cable access, different streaming services. Always did variety shows, and this is what I loved most about pro wrestling. Not only the in-ring action, the physicality, the talent, being a stuntman, taking the bumps. I couldn't do it full-time, so that's why I was a manager and did it part-time and got the taste of it and was in this business. But this is why I loved it as well. Not only because of the in-ring action, but the out-of-ring action and the entertainment. And this is how I got over and was lucky enough to be a promo man, interviews, vignettes. That's what really makes it entertaining to me and getting to know the character. But everybody wanted to blow kayfabe out of the water. They wanted to blow It's a Work out of the water. They wanted to blow everything out of the water. And now it's just a bunch of bullshit. I still love the product and love the business, but it's so different. And the podcasters nowadays, whether it's guys in their 20s or guys in their 40s, I mean, they all think they know the business. They all think they know creative. They all think they know booking. Even if they were in the business a little bit themselves as a worker or as talent or a reporter, it's just so different now in how people are in the industry and people are in the IWC. It really is. Volkov with the beautiful backbreaker. And there's the cover. There's the three. He even hooked the leg. Nice hook the leg, Volkov. Back to the studio with Nikolai. No manager with him here on Tuesday Night Titans. Vince and Lord Alfred Hayes from the TV studio, Titan Towers.
Yes, I tried to use him as a step to go up there to beat Hulk Hogan. I find out that Hulk Hogan here very...
Fans, thanks for being here. We're going to do this, as I said, we're going to try to cover all these into primetime wrestling. We don't want any copyrights, shadow bans, or strikes. We have so much content on this channel. I'm not quite sure why it's not catching on. Maybe it's not for everybody, and that's okay. We started posting regularly about 2019, right before the pandemic, and then really went crazy. And at one point, 150 podcasts in a couple of months. That's how much content is on this channel. So go check it out. You guys will not be disappointed. Tuesday Night Titans, Chaos Corner. Let's kick back and relax. Think about what's coming on. It's a lot of different things going on in the IWC that we can talk about. I even like the music. Again, it's non-copyright music. Back on TNT. Volkov, Vince McMahon. Volkov didn't like the music. And so, yeah, I know we're kicking back and we're just relaxing. I'm letting you guys sit in and think about this. Leave your comments. And they're interviewing Nikolai Volkov, and this is what they don't do. A separate show from the in-ring action, from your Monday Night Raw, your Friday Night SmackDown, your AEW Dynamite, your Rampage, your NXT, all your YouTube shows. They don't have a lot of shows like this that they put on for airtime where it's just like a variety show. Bring the guys out, show a clip, interview them, put them in a chair. When I talked to Steve Rosenberg from Sinclair Corporation, one of the biggest executive and Hollywood people around, and was trying to get in with Ring of Honor before they sold it to Tony Khan and AEW, he said, well, what can I do for you, Big Daddy? What can I do for you, Chaos? And I said, well, Ring of Honor is a great product, in-ring, technical, but I told Steve Rosenberg, look it up, do your Google. You can go back. And I said to him, I think you need more variety, more like back to the old WWF days. I don't know if he got insulted by that or not, but just going back into showing more of the character instead of just the in-ring product. Speaking of in-ring, we bounce in-ring here on TNT for a tag team match back in the day, 1985, Tuesday Night Titans with yours truly. It's the Sheik and Volkov against SD Jones and Aldo Marino. Again, two of your regular workers, grapplers, veterans, jobbers, whatever you want to call it. And again, this is what Vince used to do back in the day. They don't do it as much now because a bunch of libtards. Everybody wants to be politically correct. You can't do it. They run the storylines as to what really is going on in real life. And now it's Blassie, Sheik, and Volkov with the whole, Iran flag, waving the flag. He's going to sing the Russian national anthem. This is when they were hotter than hot. Howard Finkel's announcing. And this is when they really push the lines and the gimmicks of the different characters that worked. So let's listen in here as Volkov and Sheik do, and again, the packed crowd TV taping, everybody on their feet. It's not like that nowadays. I don't care what you talk about, AEW, WWE, or any group. Let's listen in to Nikolai. Sit back and relax on Chaos Corner. Blassie, Sheik, or Volkov. Ha! Ooh, he's a Old Glory, man. Wait. Wyndham and Rotunda carrying Old Glory out here to interrupt the Russian national anthem. Barry Windham, Mike Rotunda. This is classic. This is priceless. Coming out here to interrupt the Hollywood fashion play of Volkov and Sheik with Old Glory, baby. That I'll salute all day. See what they did here? Listen to the crowd going crazy. This is what it was all about. Emotional investment, ring psychology, long-term booking. Everybody wants to use those terms. This is what it was really about. Now here's the Sheik, and they're throwing stuff into the ring. Listen, this is when wrestling was pro wrestling. Kayfabe and breaking that ruined everything. Don't you guys get that yet? Sheik was in great shape, and I don't have to tell you my infamous stories with the Sheik on Jerry Springer and being out in Chicago and the hotel room and the Crowbar and the House of Blues and in the limo and hanging out with Jerry and Steve. And wow, with the Sheik in the dressing room in Chicago. And yeah, he was partying away, the Iron Sheik, baby. He said, hey, brother, however, he said, brother, Bubba, priceless. That's what you get here. It's on the channel, the Chaos Corner, and the Big Daddy on Springer with the Iron Sheik. You know that. And Anthony from the Pitbulls and Sweet Destiny, a.k.a. Little Genie from WCW. Right. Big feud back then, Wyndham Rotunda. Isn't that Bray Wyatt? Let that sing in. Wyndham Rotunda against Volkov and Sheik back then. It was fantastic, and I was fortunate enough, courtesy of Mario Mancini, Joe Bruin, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, because Mario helped book it, being able to, in 2019, to meet all of the Four Horsemen. I've met Flair back in the 90s at Boston Garden, told you that story. Of course, Roma, who was in it at one time. Never met Luger, who was a part of the Four Horsemen, but met Wyndham, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, all at Fan Fest 7 for New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame when I was inducted in 2019. So, great guy, big guy, hands the size of my fucking head. Captain's coming back. One of my mentors, one of the guys that I learned something from. Many things influenced me. Certainly picked his brain with Sheldon Goldberg, Tony Rumble, the NWA, NECW. Yeah, I was almost Captain Lou Jr. Here we go, back in the studio.
Famous, some would say he's infamous. Nonetheless, many things have been said about our next guest, Captain Louis Albano.
Captain Lou looking great, the beard all tied up, the hair, the nice tux, red and white, shaking Vince's hand. Live crowd for TNT up in Stamford when I used to do this. Great times back then. Captain Lou, the biggest influence in my career, hands down, of the Guardian of Chaos Big Daddy character. Watch my videos, you'll see it.
A little something special that I had hand talent for the captain in my own style. You can get a look at it. It's so many goodies, you know, that I felt I should bring it.
Captain Lou showing off the tux, red and white, looking great. Listen, his movies that he was in, that he was lucky enough to be in, all the stuff he did with Cyndi Lauper. A lot of people talk about Captain Lou. He was controversial, the whole 9 yards, tough to handle. But, man, there was nobody like Captain Lou. In that era of managers back then, like I said, the Wizard, Blassie, Captain, MTV, Cyndi Lauper, David Wolf, rock and wrestling. Captain Lou was a huge influence. And of course, with booking and backstage, it was tough to handle. He was always drunk. I get it.
Rift between you and Roddy Piper. There seems to be a
Albano, Piper, and all that stuff that went down. Go back to 85, 86, 84. Those years and MTV and WrestleMania. You guys would never, ever, ever understand it unless you lived through it. And how about Lou? Talk about people that have gone from heel to face to heel. Manager of champions, 16, 17, 18 tag teams. Valentine Morocco is U.S. champions, intercontinental champions. There was no one like Captain Lou. And the grappler, the Sicilian stuff, Tony Altamori. Unbelievable talker as you listen to him now. I'm talking like he does, and this is where I get my influence from.
But I'm pleased to be a friend and associated with Cyndi Lauper and David Wolf. Now, I don't like the fact that this Roddy Piper came out and called her I came out and
Captain Lou, and again, this started it all. And it's funny, Albano, Roddy Piper, and I ended up 20 years later being able to do a Piper's Pit with a spin-off, a knockoff, Pat the Brat Piper, and yours truly in a Piper's Pit against Jimmy Snuka and Snuka Jr. later on that night with myself and Jackmaster John Diamond. The whole coconut scene, the whole 9 yards. I replayed that 20, 25 years later for the World Wrestling Association, the WWA, and the Sparta Brothers, who worked for the WWE in the offices at one time, was able to replay that myself and Jackmaster John Diamond, Piper's Pit with Pat the Brat Piper, against Snuka later on that night, busted the coconut over Diamond's head. An honor, humble, everything I've ever done. I'm so grateful. And now here we are with McMahon, Piper, and Albano on a live segment out of the studios, backstage in the WWF. That's right, no WWF. This is the 80s, middle 80s. I'm 22 years old, 23 years old at the time. Sold out listening to Cyndi Lauper. Again, we'll let Cindy talk, but when the music comes on, I'll talk over it because we just don't want any copyrights. They're tough on me on the channel. Go to the big guys. This is like the government. Don't come after the little guy. Go after the big guy like you claim. It's all bullshit. So here's Cyndi Lauper. Back then, it was unbelievable. I liked Lauper's music back in the day. And the videos that Captain Lou was in, unbelievable. That's why I picked out this episode of Tuesday Night Titans to bring to you guys. Wendy Richter. There she is in the crowd. Look at the GM capacity at her crowd. Again, Wendy Richter was ahead of her time in women's wrestling. Easy on the eyes, too. When back then it was only Fabulous Moolah and who else knows, you know. There were some good lady wrestlers, but nothing like it is now. All eye candy and TNA and wrestling and lingerie. Yeah, they're great athletes, but they don't put them out that way. They just don't. Deserving individual. Piper and Albano with the shirt wide open, usual the belly, the Lebans, the Panzone hanging out, and the feud between Piper, Albano, Snuka, Orndorff, Ace Cowboy Orton, then turned to Hogan, Mr. T, really was priceless. That's just the one guy that I never got a chance to be on the same event, meet, or work with. Roddy Piper. That's something I would have loved and enjoyed for all the guys that I've been on the same events with and been able to work with and talk to and pick their brain. He's one that got away in my career. Lauper and Richter against Moolah. Remember, Moolah held that belt for over 20 years, 25 years. Richter came in, and she was the one that was picked and won the title. And now they're running through the history of Richter and Fabulous Moolah from back in 85, 86. Wendy was a good-looking gal. And there's, we know she teamed up with Lauper. And again, the whole rock and wrestling thing really was something. It was a great time to live through at my age and that time of my career. And then I ended up in the G.O.C. and had a family and was sidetracked. But man, I'll never regret living those days. And then, of course, the guys that I run with and have been for years, my brothers, Mario Mancini, Paul Roma, Paul Perez, Big Steve, they lived this as well, especially Mancini and Roma. They were there. Doesn't get any better than that. That's what you get here, not only at Paradise Alley, but here on Chaos Corner. Look at Piper. McMahon was good. Say what you want about McMahon. Yeah, scumbag in certain ways, this, that. He was a good interviewer. He was a good announcer, broadcaster, backstage, and was groomed for the business. Yeah, he got crazy. It was his way or the highway. And back then, when Monsoon and Finkel and Patterson and everybody were doing all the writing, it was just so much different when the people in the business actually do the booking and the writing and work. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know that you do. We're coming up on almost 30 minutes in here on Tuesday Night Titans Retro Review with the Guardian of Chaos on Chaos Corner. The variety show from the 80s in the WWF was unbelievable, second to none. Different, and that's what they need to bring back now. And we're listening to my idol, my mentor as far as the wrestling business, Captain Lou Albano. Let me be quiet for a second because this is all I do is ramble. Albano, again, as I said, not too many people were able to successful, whether it's manager or worker, from heel to face to heel, some of the biggest in history. Hogan, Roman Reigns, John Cena. As a manager, Captain Lou, maybe a Jimmy Hart. There's not many people. You talk about people that have successfully done it and why is it so hard. It really is. Think about it. Let it sink in. And people that were successful and huge as heels and faces, whether it be a manager or a worker. Think about that.
I was dazed. I
Captain
wasn't
Lou.
able to help. Thank God. Thank the good Lord for the world champion, Hulk Hogan, who came to my rescue. I'll always
The
be
brain of a dehydrated baby.
But I'm gonna tell
I hope you're watching the whole show. We're 30 minutes in. If you miss 1 minute of this, you get bored, let me change, let me come back. Come back and watch this.
You've done enough. It's time to pay back. It's time to
I'm Captain Lou, and I'm talking to you. Look how the finger goes that way.
For the humiliation, for the humbling of people, for the you're a moron, you're gonna pay, you're gonna get it back. Your time is coming near. Roddy Piper, look out! Roddy Piper, look out! I'm warning you, Roddy Piper, look out!
Captain Lou full of piss and vinegar. It didn't get any better than this, and this is the difference. And this is why I'm covering this show, to bring you variety. You get a little bit of everything. You get to see the character build up. Kayfabe, bring it back, man. Coming up, I believe it's going to be Piper and Snuka here on Tuesday Night Titans. On Chaos Corner, retro review covering the old WWF. You don't get this on the network, on anywhere. You get it here on Chaos Corner. What an episode I picked right here from 1985. Roddy Piper. Now, as we just had Albano and the whole scenario there, Alfred Hayes, Vince McMahon as Doc Severinsen and Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson and David Letterman and Paul Schaefer. You get it, right? That G.O.C. This is what we do. In the studios at Titan Towers, right up the road in Stamford. McMahon and Lord Alfred, we're just talking to Albano, and I believe he's bringing out Roddy Piper.
With that in mind, may we introduce to you Roddy Piper.
Live studio, that was great too. The concept would work right now. Get a live studio, something to this extent. Here comes Piper, red jacket, white shirt. A live crowd there in Stamford, Connecticut back in 1985, 86. This is when it was fantastic. This concept would work now, and this is what I try to do. And may try to bring this back. Mario and Chaos show was that way. Mario, Chaos, and the Kid podcast. We did this. We did live locations. He's wearing the kilt, too. You know that, right? Real men wear kilts.
What you have right there is the epitome of rock and roll, and I'm surprised that you would allow him on your show.
Nice to hear Roddy Piper, is it not?
You don't approve.
Well, I don't approve. I think they look fine. I think
A good show that we picked out in the feuds and what was going on, give you the timeline of back then in the 80s and the WWF. Again, magazine era, no internet. Think about that. Let that sink in as we're here in August of 2022.
One of the conditions of your
Piper looks good. He's got a little bling on, nice watch, little belt buckle, wearing the kilt. And again, I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. This is what made it interesting. You didn't have just in the ring and the backstage like AEW, WWE, everything feels rushed nowadays. Rush everything in. 70 people on TV, 50 people, 20 people, all the marks, all the spoilers. This is when things were kept from the general public. It was very close to the vest. It was a tight secret society. And that's what ruined the business is what's happening now. Look at the ratings. Even in, we'll go to the Monday Night Wars and the Attitude Era, which couldn't hold a candle to this as far as live attendances. And it came close, and it was maybe the second golden era in my generation. The ratings, 4 or 5 million people, 8, 9 million people watching, when now you can't even get 2. Some companies can't get 1. Let that sink in. Doesn't that tell you something? Either people don't want to watch it, or they're not doing it the right way, or storytelling, or the writing, or the booking. Something's going on for it to have been so much better back then as it is now. Even though a lot of the storylines were corny and the same type of thing, and everyone's trying to copy. Think about that as you watch the show here. This is not just for entertainment. It's to make you think, and it's for BS, and for me to throw out for content. But I have interest in it, or I wouldn't be here.
Let's go to some tape.
Listen to Piper. Let's go to the videotape. I feel like Warner Wolf. This is history, classic and priceless right here. And again, it's Piper and Little Sam, Tonga Kid. Again, I'll tell you stories. Piper and Tonga Kid, you remember the feud from back in the 80s. This was unbelievable. Also part of the Rock and Wrestling. And then they went on to do the movie Ready to Rumble, or with Piper and Tonga and Dirk Benedict, and Lou Albano was in it, the movie from the 80s. And here's Tonga going to the top rope, again, mentored by Snuka. I hung out with Little Sam in the early 80s, 1983, when I was bouncing at Daniel's Discotheque and going to SCSU, which was SCSC at that time, and meeting him when he was 16 years old, and traveling the road and going over to Samoan's house and hanging out and getting to know the business and becoming close brothers and having them at my house. It really was something. And my introduction there in 83, what was I, 19, 20 years old. And now here's Valentine, and here's Tonga taking the chair to Roddy Piper. Valentine's in there to break it up. I think that's the Hammer. Who else is in there? The Sheik, Volkov. Again, these are the breakaways. These are the brawls that they have every week now in every match on the current product. But back then it meant something. It was worth something that led into a bigger storyline that you don't just put on TV. You make it a special event. So that's my story. And you know my legendary history with the Samoan dynasty. From Rikishi to Umaga to Yokozuna to Afa, Sika. Unbelievable. To Lloyd, L.A. Smooth, Rosie, Jamal, all the same intertwined, working with all them. Just the greatest experiences of my life. Back to the early 80s. And it's nice to see Little Sam, a.k.a. the Tonga Kid, Roddy Piper, and again being able to do that years later with Snuka and Pat the Brat, and work or not. Just the history of it is worth it for me. No matter who sees this, who watches this. I've said this forever. All that. I said it in my Hall of Fame speech at the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can see on All Access Entertainment. I went 20 minutes. I talk about how important and how all this was. Go back and check it out. And Tuesday Night Titans, again, I keep repeating it and saying it. I understand this can get monotonous and run over and over. Inside the ring, outside of the ring, kayfabe, keeping it close to the vest, letting you see a little bit of everybody, reality, the character. That's what it was all about back then. It's so different now. Back to the studio with Piper, Lord Alfred, and Vince Jr. Let's listen in. Yeah. We're right now at 10:20 Eastern Standard Time, AM. Pumping out the content in these different shows. Piper was a great talker long before anybody else came around. Piper, Captain Lou. And I'm going to continue with these episodes of Tuesday Night Titans, the variety show, where it's more talk show than anything. And then I'll go move on to prime time with Gorilla and Bobby.
I don't think that would necessarily be my son's style, indeed. No.
It wouldn't be your son's.
Talking about his son back then. Shane O'Mac? Was he even born? Yeah, he probably had to be in 85, right? How old Shane O'Mac? Again, back then, Piper, Orton, Snuka, Orndorff, Hogan, Mr. T, everybody that was involved in this whole thing, Captain Lou, Sheik, Volkov, Wyndham, Rotunda. We're coming back with more Hot Rod on Chaos Corner. I wonder if Pat the Brat checks out my channel. We're back, baby. We didn't really go anywhere, though, right? Listen, it's coming up, we're past breakfast, brunch. We're coming up on brunch. Have something to eat. Kick back. And we're coming up on almost 40 minutes on this episode. I try to keep the episode short because I know the attention span of you guys out there, and me too sometimes. But if you can listen to an hour, hour and a half, I usually try to keep them short. Check these out. You're going to enjoy it. Oh, Piper's got the kill. Thank God he's wearing his moudan, so to speak, right? Guys, leave a comment. Hit the like button. Get us in their algorithm. Share this. Subscribe. Tell your friends. If they want to sit back and have entertainment, nonsense TV, but relatable, and just sit back and laugh and escape from the mundane and cookie cutter and everything else that is out there, every other show that's all alike. No matter what you think about this, good, bad, or ugly, there's no other show like this. That you can say. Nothing like this. So good, bad, or indifferent, right? I'm just saying. Piper was classic in his voice and his talk.
chairman, now the national chairman for muscular dystrophy.
Yeah, good cause, muscular dystrophy. Cindy Lauper, that was her cause. Captain Lou back in the day. Listen, it's good to have cause. PAPW did, we do the autism volunteer benefits and fundraisers for that for a long time. Camp Rising Sun, Kids for Cancer, Type 1 to None, Team CC for juvenile diabetes, local sports teams, local food banks, animal shelters. We do it all at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. So that's really important, comedy or not. And Captain Lou is back on the scene here at Tuesday Night Titans. He's in Piper's face.
Wait, fat man.
Sit down, fat boy. I used to say that all the time. Get out of here, fat man.
Put your fluffy little butt right there, huh?
Oh, not at all sitting back like I am on the panel. I feel like I'm on the panel there.
I've been carrying a load for you.
I got to find the show with Mancini and Roma on Tuesday Night Titans and the Brooklyn Brawler Lombardi when Mancini was like 19 or 20 years old. We're going to find it. We're going to put it on the channel. Oh, a little bink in the nose. Albano on Piper.
That's it. I'm supposed to be, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Piper, for joining
Oh,
us.
something's going to happen. Oh, and there it is, right to the gym. And Albano goes right over the couch, right over the chair. A la Kaufman and Jerry Lawler on Letterman. Priceless. You got to watch it. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. Wait.
Back with more TNT. Mr.
Back with TNT with the G.O.C. on Chaos Corner.
Sit down, Lou, please.
I don't want to sit down. I just want to talk about Roddy Piper.
Captain Lou.
To come out here. Number one, I don't care about myself. He's calling Cindy Lauper a broad. Cindy Lauper and myself are the national champion for multiple sclerosis. I haven't touched a dime. This money goes directly to the Multiple Sclerosis Society.
Multiple sclerosis, not muscular dystrophy.
4 point, shut up, Vinny. Please, I'm sorry, Vinny. 4.2 million.
Vinny Mac, he said, shut up.
Said that I touched
Lou's
the
pissed.
money. Said that Cindy Lauper's a broad. That David Wolf was a punk. I can't take it anymore. Roddy Piper, I'm going to tell you this. For what you did to me right here on TV in front of millions of people, I'm going to pay you back. I promise you, I'm going to pay you back.
This is priceless. This is what you get.
I've been beaten before. I've been hurt before. I've been made before. I've been crippled before. But I'm not through. Roddy Piper, look out. Roddy Piper, look out. Roddy Piper, be ready. I'm ready. I'm warning you, Vince. This is not the end. Vince, I'm sorry. Vince, Lord, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry, Vince.
Captain Lou, G.O.C. One and the same. Pat the Brat, Roddy Piper. Priceless. It's on the channel. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back. Chaos Corner, Tuesday Night Titans review. Don't you dare miss it. Variety Entertainment TV right here on Chaos Corner.